Okay, lesson 4 on solving equations. I'm going to look at the two different types of equations where they involve division. Okay, so you could have a question like this, where you're dividing by 2, or you could have a question like this, where you're dividing the whole thing by 2. So I'm going to go through each example. I'd like you to write it down once I've demonstrated each one to you. And then you're going to have a go at doing some. It's quite a quick lesson today, but I really want you to understand the two examples of division. Okay, so first of all, the plus 3 is not attached to the x divided by 2, it's separate. So in here, we are dividing by 2 first, and then we are adding 3. So to get x on its own, the first thing I'm going to do is take away 3 from both sides. The opposite of adding 3 is to take away 3. So on this side of the equation, I'm just left with x divided by 2. And on this side of the equation, I'm left with 4. Now, we want to get x on its own. So I asked myself, what's the inverse of dividing by 2? The inverse of dividing by 2 is to times by 2. So I need to times both sides of the equation by 2. Timesing by 2, then dividing by 2, will go to 1. 2 divided by 2 is just 1. Or we can think of them as cancelling each other out, just to be left with x. And 4 times 2 is 8. So my answer is 8. I'm just going to check that answer. It's always good to check. So I'm going to put it in to the left-hand side of the equation. So we worked out x was 8. So instead of writing x, I'm going to write 8. And let's see what this makes. Well, 8 divided by 2 is 4. And 4 add 3 is 7. Which is what I want, because it's 7 on the right-hand side of the equation. Okay, so with this example, I made this equal to 0 first. So add 3 and minus 3 are inverse functions. Now when I go to this example, so copy that example into your books before we go on to the next one. Okay, now watch this example and then you'll have a chance to copy down. Right, for this one, you're dividing the whole of the top by 2. Okay, so what I have to do to both sides of the equation first is the inverse of divide by 2, which is times by 2. And here, 2 divided by 2 is just 1, or we can think of them as cancelling each other out. So on the left-hand side of the equation, I've got x plus 1. And on the right-hand side, I've got 8. Okay, so how do I find my value of x? Well, x add 1 is 8. The inverse of adding 1 is to take away 1. Because plus 1 and minus 1 will go to 0. So I'm just left with x on the left-hand side. 8 take away 1 is 7 on the right-hand side. Okay, I'm just going to check that answer to make sure it's correct. So I'm going to write out my left-hand side of my equation. I'm now going to put 7 into this equation. So I've got 7 plus 1 divided by 2, which is 4, which is the answer I want, so it's correct. Right, so write that one down into your books. Okay, so for this one, I had to times by 2 both sides first and then take away 1. Whereas this one, I did the taking away first, then the timesing. Right, so you've got 2 questions to have a go at doing now. And then I'm going to go through both of these answers. So pause the video and have a go at these 2, please. Okay, let's look at the first one. Right, so you ask yourself, am I going to do the inverse timesing by 3 first or adding 2 first? Well, this is not attached. I do the one that's not attached first. So I'm going to add 2 to both sides of the equation. So on the left hand side, I'm left with x divided by 3. On the right hand side, I've got 9. Okay, what's the inverse of dividing by 3? It's timesing both sides by 3. 3 divided by 3 will cancel. So I'm left with x equals 27. And you can check that by putting it in and it will be correct. 27 divided by 3 is 9. Take away 2 is 7. Okay, that was question 1. Let's look at question 2 now. So for question 2, the first thing I have to do here, because it's all of this divided by 2, the opposite of dividing by 2, I have to times both sides by 2 first. So 2 divided by 2 is 1, or we think of them as cancelling. So I've got x plus 4 on the left hand side is 6 on the right hand side. Okay, what's the inverse of adding 4? Is to subtract 4. 4 take away 4 is 0, so I'm left with x on the left hand side and 2 on the right hand side. So there's my answer. I'll just do a quick check for that one. I'll just write it out. I've got x plus 4 divided by 2. We want to get the answer to be 3. So let's try. Let's put x equals 2 into here. 2 plus 4 divided by 2. So instead of writing x, I'm writing 2. 2 plus 4 is 6. Divided by 2 is 3, which is the answer I want. Okay, so the 2 different types you've had a go at doing. Now this is your learning check. I'm just giving you 4 questions to try and aim as best as you can to get those right, and to send them to me please with all your method so I can mark them. Look forward to getting your answers. Bye bye.